The community of Kraaifontein in Cape Town is still reeling from Wednesday evening's murders, in which 3 people were set alight in an act of vigilantism after a mob accused them of allegedly being involved in criminal activities in the area. They were attacked allegedly by an angry mob in Wallacedene. On Tuesday, 6 people had been shot dead in the area. Let's go to Mariska Botha, who joins us now for a live update. Mariska, several days after the initial incident in which 6 people were shot dead and then the mob attack that then happened, what are we hearing from community leaders about, one, the shock to the community, but also action and the way forward to deal with what seems to be escalating violence in the area?
Well, you touched on the right note there when you said escalating violence, because we are actually in Mufeni today. Behind me is the SABC offices of Mufeni, because just a little way behind the camera that way is Happy Valley, where last night 3 young men were gunned down. The SABC has confirmed the fatal shootings and says it is suspected to be related to gang violence. And you are absolutely correct when you say the escalation is taking on an astronomical figure now. We've been trying to calculate ourselves how many people have died in a mass shooting, and that would be where 2 or more people are killed in a single incident of violence. And our tally is around 40 since April this year, people that have died in mass shootings. And the people of Happy Valley telling us, the CPF, the Neighborhood Watch, that for the last 3 to 4 years, the area was very peaceful. And all of a sudden, last night, with the killing of the 3 young men, that ripped through the peace and quiet that existed in Happy Valley. Now, Mufeni itself is quite a notorious area. It's also on the list of one of the most dangerous precincts for the SABC. Violence is prevalent in the area, but in Happy Valley, where we saw the shooting there last night, not so. So certainly that community is in great shock. And what we heard from them, their community leaders in the form of CPF and neighborhood watchers, is what we've been hearing from people on the ground non-stop. We need more support. We need boots on the ground. We need more vehicles. The CPF even made an example saying that Mufeni is such a vast area, but in one sector of Mufeni, there's only 1 van. Now that, of course, is what he says, the CPF chairperson in the area, France Mashaba, telling us that. And the Neighborhood Watch also saying, calling on the people of the community to join them as Neighborhood Watch members to make the area safer. But certainly the CPF of the area says they're reeling from this killing because the area was peaceful. And we're seeing these mass shootings that are gang-related more and more. Not a week goes by in the city where we do not go to at least one of these great incidents. And you must remember, the mass shootings, as one expert told me a few months ago, makes it to the news, but that excludes the shootings that happens almost on a daily basis across the Cape Flats. So this is a crisis of truly epidemic proportions. We also saw the leadership of the Western Cape, Premier Alan Winde, the MEC for Community Safety and Policing Oversight, as well as the City of Cape Town, meeting with the Acting Police Minister Firoz Kachalia about this very issue. Acting Minister Kachalia spent some time within the greater Cape Town area, visiting some of these areas. And we know that the Western Cape authorities continue to speak to devolution, asking for the powers of the Metro Police, of the LEAP officers, to be able to do investigations, because they say the bottleneck happens where the prosecutions do not always take place. And without staff on the ground to execute arrests, to gather intelligence, to get information about where there is suspected activity, there can be no arrests or preventions at all. So certainly it is a crisis that has to be taken in hand very soon and very decisively. And we know that leadership on all tiers are talking at the highest level about this. We've also heard from an expert earlier this week, who's an expert in the field of global organized crime, saying without intelligence on the ground and formal structures that can regulate that and employ that, there will be no winning this. But there needs to be a strategy in place where all the differences between the different spheres of government are absolutely erased, and everybody must sing, if you will, from the same hymn sheet when it comes to fighting the scourge of gang violence and other violent crime on the Cape Flats in the Western Cape.
Well explained there, Mariska. Let me, before I release you, I guess let's emphasize the importance of the work that you are doing to tally up the incidents that have occurred in the last 2 to 3 months of mass shootings. And you are absolutely right. We've seen quite a number of them. Just highlight for me geographically the spread of these incidents and how it aligns with the chronic problem of gang violence. Which flashpoints have we really seen in the last few months? Because it's one thing, you know, the temptation usually is to be in the moment, because the story of the moment right now is Kraaifontein with the 6 people that were shot and then the 3 that were killed in that mob incident. We're focusing on Kraaifontein, but it's not the only flashpoint, is it?
Sure. You are absolutely correct, and that is part of the problem. It seems impossible to predict where the flashpoints will be. Now, there is a program by the Western Cape government called the Law Enforcement Advancement Program, and they have trained 1,300 officers that are deployed in batches of 200 to high crime areas where there has been incidents, for example, of mass shootings of late. But we've heard from people even today, the CPF speaking here in Happy Valley, saying they don't have LEAP officers. And we actually heard from the MEC about that issue, about the LEAP officers not being deployed in certain areas, is that they simply cannot be everywhere. It's the same for the SABC. The Premier, Alan Winde, has said in that same meeting with the MEC that when he took office in 2019, I might have the date wrong, please excuse me for that, he says there were 20,000 police officers on the ground in the Western Cape, and today that number is 13,000. So it's all about man and women power on the ground, to have more people, but highly skilled and highly trained people on the ground. The city of Cape Town, earlier this week, 700 Metro Police officers graduated. And the aim with that program is that 5 of those officers will be deployed to every ward across the city, except the areas where those LEAP officers of the province are deployed, so that there is more actual policing on the ground. Because to predict where a flashpoint will be is almost impossible.
Right.
We know the hotspots where gang activity is rife. Kraaifontein is one of them. We know Bonteheuwel, we know Manenberg. You can mention many areas, Khayelitsha, Mufeni, but to predict where you will see incidents of this nature becomes very difficult.
All right,
and that's what the global expert on organized crime said, saying that that is why you need formal intelligence structures to help in the fight against this type of crime.
Thank you for that comprehensive reporting there from Mariska Botha out there in the area around Happy Valley, just outside Happy Valley near Mufeni in the Western Cape.